Hi guys, Alice Taylor down at Lytham Golf Academy, and today we're going to take a look at the new range of GAPR clubs from TaylorMade. Right then guys, so there's three. We're looking at GAPR Lo, GAPR Mid and GAPR High. The Low is coming in 2, 3 and 4, Mid in 3, 4, 5 and the High in 4, 5, 6. So the idea of these clubs is these are supposed to fit in between whatever your longest iron is and your shortest fairway wood. And the idea with the designs is that we can still get something, dependent on how you deliver the club, that's going to give you the desired ball flight and the desired distance to gap into those spaces in your bag. So let's take a close look at the heads. Then we're going to hit 5 real balls with each club, look at some ball flight, look at some numbers. I'm going to give you some feedback on how I find the various models and who they might suit best, and we'll see if the TaylorMade GAPR might be something that's going in your bag. Right then guys, so we've got the GAPR Lo, so looking much more like a long iron, very similar to the UDI, so pretty thin top line, not much footprint front to back, a little bit more weight down near the sole, but just got that little bit of adjustability around the neck. And then obviously if you can see that there, still got a bit of speed foam in the head. So we're moving to the GAPR Mid. So for me, pretty much a combination between a long iron and a hybrid. So certainly can see a little bit more front to back. Can certainly see that cavity even looking down on it. So not the screw down in the bottom here, so keeping the CG nice and low, but a more compact head, and again still got that adjustability around the neck so you can play around with the loft. So the final club in the GAPR family, the GAPR High. So we can see obviously you got a bit of speed slot in there, weight much more towards the back of the head, much more kind of hybrid in looks and design, that little bit of a cavity in the back, but much deeper front to back, lower CG, should promote a much higher ball flight, and again with the other two, still got that adjustability around the neck. Right then guys, so like I said before, we're going to hit 5 real balls on GC2, we're going to go GAPR Low, GAPR Mid, GAPR High. Now the Low is 2 iron, 17 degrees. I've got the 3 at 19 in the mid and the 4 at 22 degrees. So I'm expecting obviously to see kind of different ball flights from the design of the head and slightly different distances because of the lofts. But the big key for me is, you know, every club should peak round about the same height. So if these don't do anything different, I'll still see the peak height the same. Going to start with the Low, then Mid, then High. So certainly as I set up to the Low, I think it looks much more like the UDI. Really fits my eye. Don't mind seeing just a little bit of the club behind the ball. But like I said, 17 degree, just got this neutral and the stiff shaft. Let's hit 5 shots and see how it performs. So really good solid strike. Turning over a little bit, which I don't mind. But good carry. Getting out just under 250. And the notable thing, I've done a review on the High because I managed to get my hands on that a few weeks ago. But really noticeable kind of how easy to hit and how forgiving these clubs are. So shot 2 with the Low. So again, nice and solid. Not turning over that time. But again, really good carry. And getting out just over 250. So for me personally, I like the idea of the Low, that I think looking at those first couple, I can still get a decent peak height on my normal shot. But if I wanted to hit one low, I can. And I think if I wanted to hit one high, I still could with this club. So shot 3. So I'll left the club face open there. So big cutty one, so not good directional wise. Going to cost me a little bit of distance. but still getting out there. Shot 4 with the low. Again, good solid strike. Tiny little cut. And for me, a really nice powerful flight, and I could certainly see myself, with me being down at Old Links a bit, playing more links golf, I could see this getting a good amount of use off the tee. But one final one with the low. Just felt a little bit toey. Just turning over a little bit more, but again, really consistent distance, kind of just around that 250. So my first impression of the low is, even though it's 17 degree, very forgiving, obviously a little bit side to side, but that's me. A little bit of adjustability around the neck, possibly I might set this up slightly different, but first impressions of GAPR Lo, very forgiving, good distance and a good all-round club. So let's switch into the mid, and this one now at the 3, 18 degrees. I think I said 19 before, but 18 degrees, so very, very close to the 2 in loft, but very different in design of head. So definitely a bit more chunky looking. Again, I don't dislike that. I think it maybe looks a little bit more forgiving than the low. So 5 shots with this. Let's see how this goes. Oof, that was nice. So just not quite turning over, but really strong. Around about that 240. But that was good. Felt a little bit toey, but I'd take that all day long. So a little bit low off the face, just cutting out to the right. Again, I'll take that as a bad one though, kind of 210 carriage, nearly 230 total. I'm probably not sure, maybe initially probably the low fitted my eye a little bit more, but having it a couple with the mid, quite like this one. That felt nice and solid. And it'd be interesting to see, with only a degree difference in these, what the kind of flight and distances are like. But again, that felt nice and solid. Oh, just turned that a little too early. Okay, that's probably my bad one, but again, if I'm hitting it from 240, I'm not going to hit loads of greens from that range. One final one with GAPR mid. Oh, that was right out the toe. That felt very, very poor strike. But again, that's super impressive for one that certainly wasn't miles away from the middle, but certainly far enough from the middle to affect performance. So that was good with the mid. Now, the high is going to be less of a surprise for me because I've already hit the 4 in the stiff, but very, very different looking behind the golf ball. Let's hit 5 shots again. Let's see what those flights, those distances are like. So that was very toey. Very like the last one I hit with the mid. Again, take that for a poor strike. Now this one out the 3, I think fits my eye the least. I think if it performs great, I could still live to love it. Love to live it? Love to love it. Okay, off we go. Now that felt a little bit low off the face, but still very, very high and very, very good on distance. So shot 3 with the high. So that one felt a little bit heely. So I'm definitely getting a full workout everywhere across the club face. But again, still getting out 220 with a 4-iron loft. So good, very forgiving. Definitely think, can see the benefits certainly with doing fittings in how low, mid and high might suit different golfers. And guys might even add kind of like a high in 4, and then if they feel that kind of 5's up in the air, maybe in the mid. But certainly for me, all 3 of them very, very easy to hit. So it felt probably a little bit more solid. Not absolutely flush, that was more like I would expect. And again, that's long for a 4-iron. So one final one with the GAPR high. So that was towards the toe. So we're seeing that little bit of shape from right to left. And again, good consistent distances. Right then guys, so I've hit 5 balls with GAPR low, mid and high. As ever, there was good spread and there was good use of all the club face from me. So ideally, I like to be hitting it out of the same place, but hopefully we're going to get some good feedback here on not just how the best strikes perform, but how those slightly poor contacts perform as well. But let's look at some numbers and see how the new GAPR range perform. Okay, so if we look at ball speed, the low at 142, the mid at 140, and the high at 138. So, I mean, very, very impressive ball speeds considering there were different lofts. So launch-wise, pretty similar with the low and mid. Again, maybe expect that the lofts were quite similar. Peak height, interestingly, a lot higher with the high, but the mid and the low for me the same. Average carry, 226 with the low, 218 with the mid, 211 with the high, and then totals of 245, 235 and 226. Okay then guys, so when we looked at the numbers, for me, I think I was surprised that the low and the mid hit the ball about the same height. Now, maybe I shouldn't be that surprised because I think I've got enough speed in the way I deliver the club. I can probably still get the low in the air enough, so that was fine. As expected, the high went much higher than these. But I think for me personally, the low fits my eye a little bit more, and I think it probably gives me a bit more versatility for high and low shots. But for any of you guys who maybe don't get those longer irons in the air like you'd want, certainly you're going to be getting more into the mid and definitely the high. With that going 4, 5, 6, I think guys who start at 7-iron down are going to have a great choice of different mix and match clubs that can plug those gaps. But the longest was the 2-iron for me, kind of as expected. I was surprised the difference between, and maybe that was more down to contact between the 3 in the mid and the 2 in the low. But all in all, I think that range of clubs will be a great addition to TaylorMade's. I think what it'll do is it'll give those guys who would love to have maybe something that looked more like a long iron in the bag, with the low and the mid, they'll have that opportunity. For the guys who are more comfortable with the hybrids, I think kind of the high will fit in there for them. But good range of clubs, as ever. Get along, get fitted, get what works best for you. You know, have the clubs in the bag that make it the easiest for you to play well. As ever guys, appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos. Comment below, let me know if you've got any of these in the bag. Did you try them? Maybe didn't like them? And if you didn't, what did you go for? Subscribe to my channel if you don't already. Follow me on all my social media platforms, all under Ali Taylor Golf. Hopefully catch up with some of you guys down here in the future. Stay in contact.